At 1,300 hours, U.S. forces detected a narco-submarine hiding only 400 meters off the Galapagos Islands. In 4 hours, it would melt into a maze of merchant signals and vanish. The HC-130J crew didn't know yet that the vessel below carried one last trick, one that would turn a routine interception into a tense three-way standoff at sea. On the radar screen, the contact flickered like a heartbeat, 3 sweeps visible, 9 gone. Only faint returns when waves touched bits of exposed metal on a fiberglass hull. 8 knots told the story. Far too slow for legitimate traffic. Heavy enough to press its deck into the water with every swell. No fishing grounds, no shipping lanes. No reason to be here except the obvious one: contraband. The heading matched the smuggling corridor from Colombia to Mexico, where product changed hands and profits tripled. Every indicator pointed to a ghost sub drifting through empty water, hiding in plain sight. Thermal cameras brought the Phantom into shape only 18 inches above the surface, painted blue-gray to blend with the ocean. Invisible to everything but the sensors staring down from 5,000 meters above. Finding it was easy. Reaching it would become a fight against distance, time, and math itself. The nearest Coast Guard cutter, Seneca, lay 50 miles away. At flank speed 20 knots, that meant 2.5 hours to intercept. The smugglers would reach crowded waters in 4. Simple numbers, but numbers that spelled failure unless something could fly faster than it could sail. The moment intercept data hit the network, Seneca's flight deck erupted into controlled chaos. Pilots, techs, and gunners sprinted to stations. No alarms, just boots on steel and clipped orders. Pre-flight checks cut in half. Every minute lost was a mile surrendered. Weapons were loaded while rotor straps still held. Pilots scribbled fuel math on knee boards wet with salt. The intercept point lay 150 miles ahead an hour's flight. The MH-65 carried 3.5 hours of fuel, but combat burns double. They had to intercept, hold for 3 hours until Seneca arrived, then still make it back. The computer kept showing the same number landing on fumes and prayers. The gunner checked the M240 mount, remembering how corrosion had locked it solid yesterday. Salt eats everything at sea, especially the systems you need most when everything's on the line. The rotors bit air, lifting the helo off deck toward the rendezvous. The pilot watched both clock and fuel gauge like a gambler guarding his last chips. Every minute at high power cost 2 minutes of endurance. Seneca churned through silver swells, racing time itself. On the bridge, her captain knew. If they arrived late, smugglers would flood the sub and sink the evidence. Every second now counted. At 1,415 hours, the helicopter reached the target, diving from clear skies toward an enemy no one could yet see. Dropping to 2 to 100 feet, rotor wash smashed the ocean like an invisible hammer. Water exploded upward, rocking the low-profile vessel until foam covered its deck. The first greeting from the sky was a storm it never asked for. The gunner gripped the M240 controls to fire warning shots, but the mount refused to move. The traverse motor was frozen solid, salt crystals welded inside the bearings. The gun stuck 45 degrees off-nose, 40 pounds of resistance in a system built for 2 hours to hold with a weapon that couldn't aim. The pilot adjusted without a word, sliding the helicopter sideways at 50 knots to bring the jammed gun on target. You won't find that maneuver in any manual, but manuals don't win fights. Fuel flow spiked 95 gallons an hour, but a show of force mattered more than economy. The first burst stitched water 100 meters ahead of the sub. It kept moving 8 knots, unbothered. Maybe they thought the sideways helo was broken. They were half right. The equipment had failed, but the crew hadn't. Sometimes willpower is the last weapon left. The pilot swung back around, holding the awkward angle while the gunner wrestled metal against rust. Salt is patient, steel is stubborn, but Coast Guard gunners are both. Second burst, 50 meters. Third, 10. The impacts shuddered through the hull, and that did it. The engines died, and silence rolled across the sea. The sub drifted dead in the water. 3 men below now had time to think about their choices. The helicopter orbited at 2 to 100 feet, its frozen gun pointing sideways like a broken weather vane, still enough to mark defiance. Step 1 accomplished. Step 2, keep it that way. 12 minutes later, radar lit up 2 contacts inbound from the southwest at 40 knots. Reinforcements? The pilot split his focus between what he had captured and what was now coming fast. 2 escort boats knifed through the swells at 40 knots, holding 2,000 meters out just beyond small arms range, but close enough to threaten. They weren't rescue craft, they were insurance policies with outboards and attitude, ready to shoot first and deny everything later. The pilot could see sunlight flashing off metal. The boats probed the perimeter, testing reactions. One suddenly lunged toward the sub, closing to 1,500 meters. The pilot rolled the nose, aligning the frozen gun straight at it. No rounds fired, but the message was clear. That boat broke off, its partner charging from the opposite flank. Pack tactics, wolves of the sea. The gunner fought the locked mount, forcing it a few painful degrees at a time while sweat and salt stung his eyes. Determination weighed more than the weapon itself. Those boats almost certainly carried AK-47 seconds, the cartel's signature. Accuracy meant little at this distance, but luck can still kill. For 15 minutes, the standoff danced, boats feinting and retreating, the helo pivoting, fuel ticking away grain by grain. Fuel gauges dropped like sand through glass. Seneca was still 90 minutes out. The pilot knew the cartel captains were doing the same math, waiting for him to run dry. 2 sides counting time, one by gallons, the other by miles. Both boats surged in, 8 to 100 meters now. The pilot didn't pick a side, he climbed to 5 to 100 feet, positioning to cover both at once. His move said everything. Broken gun or not, he wasn't leaving. The message landed. The boats peeled off and fled southwest, throttles wide open. The sea calmed again. The helicopter kept circling. Fuel down to 130 gallons every minute smelled of metal and anxiety. Below, the sub rocked quietly like a guilty secret adrift. But stopping a vessel and boarding it were 2 very different battles, and the waves were climbing. At last, Seneca arrived steel, cutting through foam, forming a wall between the sub and escape. She slowed to 5 knots while the deck crew readied the launch. 6-foot seas, building fast. Not a storm yet, but falling pressure promised worse. The window to act was closing. The crane swung a 7-meter rigid hull inflatable 8,000 pounds of boat and men out over open water. Each wave doubled the load, compression on the rise, tension on the drop. The operator counted wave intervals 8 seconds crest to crest, waited for the flat, then hit release. The boat fell 6 feet, slammed the surface, engines roaring before the next swell hit. The coxswain shoved throttles forward, sprinting clear of the mothership. No one wants to be trapped between 4,500 tons of steel in a hard place. Overhead, the helo held 2 to 100 feet, circling watchfully. 134 gallons. The pilot ran the math enough to cover the boarding, give overwatch, and land before becoming a flying submarine. The jammed gun no longer mattered. 6 armed operators in that RHIB were firepower enough. The coxswain pushed 45 knots straight for the narco-sub, then cut power, swinging the bow sideways in a controlled collision. The inflatable collar absorbed the hit. Both boats grinding together on different wave cycles, violent but perfect for boarding. When the decks leveled for 2 seconds, the first operator jumped 40 pounds of gear, slamming onto wet fiberglass. He slipped, but his weapon was already up. 2 others followed, forming a triangle of cover in case anyone below tried a last bad idea. One by one, the smugglers were dragged out, wrists bound, faces empty. Another officer climbed inside to clear the hull, no surprises allowed. Waves hammered, wind howled, but discipline held firm. When the final all clear crackled over comms, tension broke like a snapped cable. The RHIB was hoisted back aboard. The helicopter landed on Seneca with tanks nearly dry. The mission ended without a single shot fired in anger, only the echo of engines cooling after strain. The ocean went calm again, while in distant ports, new blueprints for another sub were already being drawn. That day, they learned the game had changed. On this ocean, there's no place left to hide. Only those who endure will survive. The battle paused, but the war never truly ends.